A federally funded program that is costing you, the taxpayer, billions of dollars is actually feeding the drug problem.
That's right. Food stamp fraud is actually a catalyst for other crimes, and the problem, as 2 News Investigates Pam Elliott found out, is those in charge of enforcement don't really believe that it can be stopped.
It's illegal to use food benefits for anything other than food, but that doesn't stop some people. Just look at this ad I found on Craigslist. Food stamps for sale.
Use the cash to purchase alcohol, tobacco, drugs, just about anything you can imagine.
Authorities say people are selling food stamp benefits for cash, about 50 cents on the dollar. And the buyers are often those whom the federal government authorizes to accept the benefits.
I was on welfare, used it for what it's for, and got back off of it.
And do you know that people don't use it always for what it's for?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
SNAP stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It's administered through the United States Department of Agriculture using electronic benefit transfer cards, or EBT cards. Last fiscal year, Ohio received nearly $3 billion in SNAP benefits to help feed 1.8 million people. About 42% of them children.
And every fraud that takes place is taking money away from groceries that could go to those families and children that are in need.
Eric Wolf is the agent in charge of the Ohio Investigative Unit, OIU. It's the only agency in the state that can set up accounts to use EBT cards in undercover operations.
I'm going to get these cards, and I'm not paying a whole lot for them, so I only do 35%.
2 News Investigates got from the state this audio from a bust in Fairborn. You're hearing the voice of the undercover officer.
You know, you're stretching it out for me on the car, you're helping me out, I'll help you out.
Wolf told me it took multiple visits to the Main Express Food Mart to gather enough evidence against the owner, George Daoud. Daoud is now in prison for swapping cards for drugs and even a car. Investigators claim he was responsible in some way for 500 separate fraudulent transactions in a 2-year period. Daoud declined my request for an interview. Shelby County Sheriff John Lenhart says food stamp fraud is rampant, but the state and the USDA don't share key information with local authorities to get at violators.
We can investigate murders, homicides, kidnappings, rapes, dog bites. But this, we don't have the authority to do, which is absolutely crazy.
Crazy because he and his colleagues don't have access to SNAP data.
So the enforcement arm of this is really lacking.
I think non-existent would be a better term.
OIU has 100 sworn officers to investigate food stamp fraud and liquor violations in all 88 counties. The USDA has 100 officers across the country assigned to food stamp fraud, with 250,000 retailers to monitor. The man who oversees SNAP is Undersecretary Kevin Concannon.
And you mentioned 100 people spread out through the country. That doesn't seem like a lot of enforcement help.
Most of the way in which we identify bad actors is not through those 100 people. It's through the data mining.
But again, that's data Sheriff Lenhart and his colleagues can't see.
And I really don't believe that the guy from USDA in Washington understands what really goes out here in the Heatherland. If he thinks he's got great working relationships, you better be talking to some sheriffs and police chiefs, because they never heard of that.
Just hours before this story was to air, Sheriff Lenhart called me to say because of our investigation, the USDA has reached out to Shelby County and is willing to provide resources and information so there can be a better working relationship. And there is now a newly signed agreement between the USDA and the state to share resources and information. Pam Elliott, 2 News Investigates.
And the USDA believes more than 10% of the retailers authorized to accept SNAP benefits are trafficking. They're usually the small convenience stores. Now, if you want to see which Miami Valley stores have withdrawn from the program or have been permanently disqualified, we have that for you on WDTN.com, along with a number you can call if you witness the buying and selling of those EBT cards. And if you have something you'd like 2 News Investigates to check into, contact them at 2newsinvestigates@WDTN.com.